No one in the sleepy town of Willow Creek could explain why Max, the police department's most loyal K9, wouldn't stop barking at the old church cross. Day after day, shift after shift, every time he passed St. Mark's Chapel with his handler, Officer Sarah Miller, Max would dig his paws into the ground and unleash a flurry of barking that echoed off the stone chapel walls. At first, it seemed like just odd behavior, but what was uncovered behind that cross would shake the entire town and leave everyone questioning how a dog could sense what no human could. It all began on a bitterly cold Tuesday morning in February. Snow clung to the sidewalks, muffling the sound of the early risers. Officer Sarah Miller, a seasoned officer and a kind soul with a deep bond with animals, pulled into her usual patrol route with Max in the backseat. She was one of the few people who truly understood the silent language of dogs, especially Max, the German shepherd who had saved her life more than once in their 5 years together. As they drove past the old stone church, Max suddenly stood upright, ears rigid, a low growl brewing in his throat. Then came the barking, loud, sharp, desperate. Sarah slammed the brakes, startled. "Max, what's going on, buddy?" she asked, peering out the windshield toward the churchyard. Max's eyes were locked onto the cross that towered over the entrance, tall, weathered by time, and seemingly unremarkable. Sarah had driven past St. Mark's hundreds of times, and Max had never reacted this way before. She chalked it up to a squirrel or maybe a raccoon hiding behind the structure, but Max's reaction only intensified over the following days. Every patrol, every pass by the church, he barked and clawed at the door, fixated on the cross. Soon, the townspeople started to notice. Whispers swirled around the coffee shop and grocery store. "That police dog's barking at the church again," murmured old Mrs. Jensen. "You think it's haunted?" a teenager asked while filming Max for TikTok. Father Thomas, the church's pastor for over 40 years, was hesitant but eventually invited Sarah and Max inside to investigate. The chapel, though old and creaking at every step, held nothing overtly strange. Still, Max's barking persisted, this time louder, directly at the wooden cross mounted behind the altar. Sarah stood beside Max as he growled at the cross. It was as if he could see something no one else could. "This is more than instinct," Sarah muttered to herself. That night, Sarah stayed up researching. Dogs could smell cancer, seizures, even detect earthquakes before they happened. But this, what could be buried behind a 100-year-old church cross that would set off Max's every alarm? She requested a full investigation, citing Max's behavior and the possibility of something hidden behind the cross. It wasn't a request the precinct took lightly. The mayor and church board were hesitant, but Sarah's record, and Max's uncanny instincts, earned her permission, reluctantly. With a small team, Sarah returned to the church a week later. Crowds had started to gather daily, watching Max bark as if warning them all. Media trucks began to roll in. It had become more than a local mystery, it was a phenomenon. "All right, let's check it out," Sarah said, heart pounding as a maintenance worker unscrewed the cross from the wall. The moment the cross was moved, Max stopped barking. Silence. Everyone held their breath. Behind the cross, embedded in the stone wall, was a rusted metal door, one no one had ever noticed before. Sarah stepped forward, her fingers trembling as she turned the latch. With a groan, the door opened into darkness. A beam of her flashlight revealed a narrow tunnel. Gasps echoed through the chapel. "Is this part of the original church?" someone whispered. Father Thomas stepped forward, pale. "This church was built over the ruins of an even older chapel," he said softly. "I didn't know this was here." They followed the tunnel, the walls tightening around them as they descended beneath the church. Finally, they came upon a small stone room. Inside were rotting crates, old church records, and a locked wooden box. Sarah picked it up, surprised by its weight. Inside was a collection of letters, photos, and a worn journal. The room fell quiet as she read aloud the first page. "To whoever finds this, I pray you bring light to the darkness that lived above this place. Forgive me, Father, for I buried the truth." What unraveled next was a tale lost to time, a story of a young woman named Clara who had gone missing from Willow Creek in 1957. Her case had gone cold decades ago. But here, in the fragile journal pages, was her story. She had found herself pregnant out of wedlock and turned to the church for help. Instead of compassion, she was hidden, kept out of sight by those who feared scandal. Her child, born in secret, had died during birth. She wrote of isolation, of pain, of forgiveness. Eventually, she perished in that very hidden room, her final entry begging the world to do better by those who suffered in silence. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks as she read the final lines. Around her, officers, reporters, and townsfolk stood frozen. Max sat quietly, his mission complete. Clara's body, respectfully recovered, was finally laid to rest in the church's cemetery with a proper headstone. The town came together in an emotional ceremony, with Father Thomas tearfully asking forgiveness on behalf of the church. The story spread far and wide, igniting conversations about compassion, mental health, and justice for those forgotten. Max was awarded a special medal by the town and became a symbol of unwavering loyalty and intuition. But for Sarah, it wasn't about the accolades. It was about Max, her partner, her friend, the dog who didn't give up. As she stood beside him on a sunny afternoon, watching children place flowers on Clara's grave, she whispered, "You brought her peace, boy. You reminded us of our humanity." In Max, he wagged his tail, eyes bright, the chapel cross behind them now silent and still. Let's talk about it. What would have happened if Max had been ignored? If no one had listened to the barking? Sometimes, the truth doesn't shout, it barks, it begs, it waits patiently to be heard. This story isn't just about a heroic canine. It's about listening to the voiceless. It's about healing. It's about second chances, even decades later. What do you think about Max's instincts? Have you ever seen an animal behave in a way that revealed something deeper? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have a story of your own. I'd love to hear it. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more heartwarming tales that prove sometimes, animals are the heroes we never knew we needed. This is Positive Tales, where every bark tells a story.